I think we're live now. Yes. Can someone of the studio give me a confirmation just to not embarrass? Oh, I see people coming in. Yes. Okay, then. So we can start. Welcome, everyone, to the European Vegan Summit and specifically to today's panel on how to start a vegan startup. My name is Leonardo Nunes from ProVeg Incubator, and I'm going to be your host for today. I'm going to be with different and very connotative guests in the vegan startup scene. We're going to have some different discussions, answering some questions that we already have here, but then also we're opening up for you at the audience so that way you can also interact with our guests just to have a little bit of great conversations going on. So I'm just going to introduce our different guests for today's panel. We have Michel Bracké, founder of Visionary Future. He's a visionary entrepreneur with a seasoned executive and a profound commitment to the alternative protein scene. As mentioned, he is the founder of A Better Future, which is aiming to facilitate and accelerate the transition of plant-based and alternative proteins. He also works with strategic management, board assignments, coaching, and go-to-market strategies. So yeah, thank you so much, Michel. Also, we have with us Jay Karandikar from New Crop Capital. He's a principal of New Crop, and he oversees the fund's portfolio. In transition, Jay is also, Jay is a founder and an investment committee member of Hyams VC, a fund that is focused on investing in animal product alternatives in India. And previously, he worked in different hedge funds in the US and Japan. So a great experience there, Jay. Also, we got Małgorzata Kowal from Vegan Sun Zone. It's a visionary founder and a passionate advocate for plant-based living and sustainable food practices. Her journey encompasses over 8 years with a deep love of food and the commitment of freedom of animals from suffering, with a background in marketing, PR, culinary exploration, and innovation. So I think that also brings a great perspective into this and today's conversation. Also, we have Monika Gaszyńska. Again, I'm sorry if I'm butchering any of your names. You can complain afterwards and say, Leo, that's not how you say. So please, again, I apologize. So Monika, she's the co-founder and CTO of SERio. It's a plant-based cheese and is also a social supporter in Australia and has been working deep with this environment and also working alongside healthy and balanced food choices. And yeah, great experience on that. Also, we have Noah Hyams, who is the founder of VEGPRENEUR. It's a platform to bring together and support entrepreneurs, investors, and different leaders in building sustainable plant-based businesses around the world. And yeah, also with experiences previously in Bloomberg and radio, and also with conversations with media. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Welcome to the panel. I hope everyone is feeling okay and filled with energy for this conversation. It's a yes or it's a no. Come on.
Yes.
That's the spirit.
Of course.
Okay. So just to begin off questions, I wanted to specify a question to Jay. Given your experience with Wild Earth and gathered foods, a little bit, what would your advice be to vegan startups on scaling operations, which I think is also one of the big challenges that startups face, and providing a little bit of context on that, and also the entrance towards new markets?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here at the European Vegan Summit. So I would say that, first of all, I have a high-level suggestion for people, which is that when you're getting started out on this journey, it can be very helpful to find the right people who are a few steps ahead of where you are and where you want to be. So for example, if you are starting a frozen food company, you will want to try to find someone who it already has a frozen food company that's in distribution, or if you want to go direct to consumer, it's helpful to connect to other direct to consumer entrepreneurs. And they don't necessarily have to be even vegan companies, just people who have experience in this area. And a lot of times, if you connect with these people, you'll find that they are excited to talk to you. They want to share their experiences, and they can give you lots of good tidbits of information that you might not easily be able to find just from reading on the internet. So that's my first high-level suggestion. And beyond that, I would have maybe two specific pointers for people. So one is that I would say a lot of people, when they want to think about scaling up their product, will want to find a co-manufacturer. And they might be really excited to start producing their product as quickly as possible. But I would suggest to people to really take their time to find the right partnership, because a lot of times that industry can be opaque. There might not be a lot of information available on the internet, for example. But if you get into a partnership with a co-manufacturer and you find that the situation is not working out, it can be a big hassle to extricate yourself from that situation. And there are some great co-manufacturers out there, and there are also some not so great ones. So I would suggest really trying to check the references, to maybe meet with people who are also manufacturing there, try to understand their business practices, and make sure you really find the right partner before you commit. And my final pointer for people would be that you want to really identify your target consumer, because trying to create a product that is going to be everything for everyone is not a winning strategy, especially in the beginning. I mean, sometimes people have dreams of scaling up to become a really massive company, and that might be a worthwhile goal. But for your first few customers, you're going to want to find people who really love your product, and to understand why they love your product. If it's people who are really concerned about health, or if it's people who are fans of a particular kind of cuisine, or trying to solve a particular problem in their lives, focus on that target customer group first. And then once you have some sales traction, then you can focus on expanding your customers. So those would be my few quick suggestions.
Thank you so much, Jay. And now I want to open up the conversation for everyone, so to have a more wide perspective on this. Of course, we know that times right now are a little bit more difficult on the alternative and vegan food scene. So I would pose a question to all. Is it more accessible or more challenging to create a vegan business in 2024 compared to previous years? For example, I don't know, 2009, when Beyond Meat was just founded, or maybe in 2021 or 2020 a little bit, when raising funds was a lot easier for companies in this scene. And now we're seeing how times are a little bit tough, but technology has also moving forward. So putting those factors onto the balance, how do you think we compare today with years in the past a little bit? Whoever wants to take this first, you can grab the grenade and start talking. No, I think Michel is starting, but he's on mute. Sorry. Oh.
Now I should be online, but yeah, I think I don't think it makes a big difference. I think it's just different between 2009 and now. In 2009, I think Beyond Meat entered the market with little competition, but at the same time, it wasn't a market that was well established. It was not so much people really looking for alternative proteins, so that was a challenge for them. I think today there is much more consumer awareness and demand, so it is easier to enter, or there is kind of like more acceptance for those type of products. However, I think today the market is crowded, and the market is also crowded with established players. And now we are really talking about consumer products. Not really on a B2B level, but you have giants like Nestle, Unilever, that have invested in these plant-based offerings. So with that said, I think the need and the acceptance from retailers has also kind of changed, because once these bigger players entered the market, the need for adapting their own value chain and the way of doing business has become smaller. And by that, they actually have made the life for the smaller ones more difficult, because I think a lot of smaller players have difficulties in adapting to the existing value chain and how they operate, and to kind of like fit in a profitable way. So that has kind of like made the situation more difficult, I think, for smaller players. And then as a third more difficult part in this environment is that what we see is retailers have invested quite a lot in their own brands nowadays as well. So you have the giants, and then you have the own brands of the retailers. So in order to succeed, I think you really need to bring innovation today. You need to bring something that is kind of like adding value, because if it's just another Me Too product, another burger or another I don't know, meatball, then it's going to be very difficult to enter that market.
Thank you, Michel. Anyone else would like to take that conversation? Oh, we have a question from the audience. Michel, let me just read it to you. They ask, do you think Nestle and Unilever help to create real barriers for small businesses?
Necessarily think that they, as such, build barriers for smaller companies. But if I take a real life example, so retailers tend to order goods that they are going to sell the next week, roughly speaking. So maybe not the next week, but they are really ordering short term and not real volumes, not very big volumes to their distribution centers. And you can understand why they are doing that, because if they need to keep a month worth of goods for all the brands and for all the products, they would need really big warehouses. So from a cost perspective, they think like, we're gonna work in a first in first out, kind of like a very efficient way of working with distribution. For smaller brands, so if you are selling Coca-Cola, that's fine. I mean, a week's sale of Coca-Cola is really a big amount of Coca-Cola bottles that you will deliver to the retailer. If you look at the smaller brands, that is actually a problem, and specifically if you're in the frozen and in the fresh aisles, because you need to ship relatively small quantities, and the distribution costs are on your end. So sometimes I've seen cases where it is better to say to the retailer, here's $10. I'm not going to ship the products because it's cheaper if I give you $10 every time you order for me than to ship the products, because I'm losing a lot more money. If you see what I mean, because that's reality, and that you need to understand as a smaller player on how you are going to tackle that. But I don't think the bigger players have in any way try to block smaller players. I think they just see the potential, which is still there. We are still looking at a big market with flexitarians that are open for eating more and more plant-based foods.
Okay, thank you, Michel, for that. Okay, before we continue with other questions, anyone else that would love to grab this about the challenges of the accessibility or the challenge of creating a vegan business today versus the past?
Maybe I can say a few words.
Sure, Monika.
Well, I know two other companies that started their businesses, vegan companies that started their businesses around 2009, I think it was, maybe a little bit later, but not much. And I believe they told us that they made it, they grew really fast because they had no competition at that time. and they had no investors because they could raise the money from what they were selling, and the interest was big because they were new and there was something different. And we started our own business in 2022, so around 2 years ago. And even though the market may be bigger because the consumer awareness is bigger, we are really struggling to appear in many retail shelves. Just what you said, Michel, that the private label that they are that bigger companies are offering are actually making it harder for small businesses to appear and to make it through. So I do believe, from my perspective, that it is there are bigger barriers to entry vegan market right now than it was a couple of years ago. Especially, I don't know how is it in other countries, but in Poland, vegan market it's not growing like, constantly, but it has its ups and downs. So right now, I think it's a little bit down. So from my perspective, it was a little bit easier, especially that, as you said before, Leonardo, in 2019, or I don't know, it was you or Michel, sorry, it was easier to find funds for the business, because right now it's much more difficult. So I do believe it's much more difficult right now, especially that there is so much more other companies that are entering the vegan market. And Beyond Meat was also entering the market in the right moment. No other company, and meat is easier product than vegan cheese that we are doing, because there's much more vegetarians than vegans. So that's my perspective on that question.
Thank you, Monika. And since you mentioned talking about geography and the context of Poland, I wanted to ask Noah, who is based in LA and is working there. How's your perspective on the market in the US? How has that shifted? Of course, it's one of the most important ones. Would like to know a little bit from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Good morning, at least here from Los Angeles. Yeah, the market in the US has definitely flatlined a bit. Demand is definitely not growing like we've seen in past years. We had a lot of products come out in a short amount of time. Not all of them great, unfortunately. Some leaving a bad taste, no pun intended, in customers' mouths. And so, yeah, it's made it a little bit more difficult for new companies. Funding has dried up a bit. A lot of companies in food specifically were treated like tech companies with valuations that are just, hard to justify, at least today. And so I think you're going to see a different kind of company emerge in the coming years, one that is more focused on, maybe growing a little bit more slowly, not with, world domination aspirations, as Jay pointed out, but focused more on traction, metrics, and, actually building a viable business, which can be difficult with businesses that require a lot of upfront R&D, of course. But with, more traditional CPG businesses, I think we're in a time now where companies need to find out if their numbers actually work, if they can build a business that, can return some kind of profit in the near term versus, in over many years.
Thanks, Noah. Yeah, anyone else would like to make a comment on the difficulties of the past and the present before we continue? I don't want to leave anyone out without a chance to speak, so don't be shy, please. Yeah. Okay, just gonna grab a comment from the audience that we just received, that big companies would only open up the way to convert many more people into plant-based, and veganism should be our primary concern. Any thoughts on this, of maybe mobilizing companies and viewing plant-based and veganism as a main concern for them? Has anyone had any interactions of maybe shifting perspectives on the corporates, or do you think it's a non-viable alternative for that?
I think corporates are, or when we talk corporates, the Nestle's, the Unilevers, and there's a lot more of those type of companies. I do believe they see the potential. They want to bring products to the market because they see flexitarian opportunity, which is estimated somewhere at 50-60% of the population. So it's, you know, we're talking potentially about a big group of people. They didn't enter the market for serving the vegans, so to speak, because that market is too small for them to really enter. So I think seeing them is a good thing. I believe it's a good thing that they are there. Then, you know, we can discuss about how much innovation they bring to the table, but that is still an opportunity, I think, for the smaller companies to really bring the new things, and eventually the bigger companies will adapt or will take them over or will buy them and bring the same similar type of products to market.
Great. And I wanted to ask a little bit on the stage that the vegan market is currently in and how it is for new players, specifically since we have already huge global corporations present in different markets. I wanted to know a little bit of the insights from our entrepreneurs on the panel, for example, Małgorzata. What's your experience been like as a new player, and of course, having to see like big corporations present in these markets? How's your experience been, and how you think the vegan market is overall? Oh, you're still muted, sorry.
Good. Okay. I think the market is mature and evolving stage. I think that what everybody else said before about, you know, the corporates and I think from one side they have a bad influence on the market right now because they're making cheap products. I understand that it's still vegan product, but it makes from cheap ingredients, making you know, our mission a little bit harder because as a small independent company as we are, we have a chance to shine by focusing of our authenticity, but still our high quality product. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges that they have, that we are treated as a niche a little bit right now, being in the mainstream because it starts to be more popular. But still, we have to focus on quality products. This is, I think, from my perspective, it's a good way to grow in this crazy market, if I can call it that way. And making a little bit different sophisticated products, because as we can see, all the big brands coming to the mainstream with doing exactly the same that sometimes we are doing, you know. So I think the future is more alternatives, but going sophisticated products. With the awareness of consumers that they're having a lot of products on the shelf, that they are full of wheat, they are full of sugar, full of everything else that it's coming with the ongoing health problems. I think the innovations are more on high quality, clean label products to crave on our own space in this market. This is my point of view, I think.
Thank you so much. And talking a little bit on this, on the focus on quality and also clean labels, and of course, on this evolution and maturity of the market, I'd like to ask a little bit for Jay, if you have seen also this shift or this maturity coming, for example, on the different companies or on the deal flows that you guys have seen in different funds with regards of vegan startups. Have you seen this evolution or this maturity happening as well on the companies that have been appearing on your radar?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is definitely a trend that I've seen. But I think that relating to a point that I was making in my previous remarks, that I think it's really important to identify the target consumer. So I don't like to talk in terms of absolutes. I think that there's a segment of the market that really cares about clean labels, that they will really scrutinize the ingredient list on the packaging. And I don't think that's the majority of people, but I think that there's a segment of the market that cares about that. So if you want to go after that group of people, then you're going to have to design your product in such a way that those consumers are going to appreciate it. So I think earlier on in the industry, there was a prevailing idea that we just need to beat the animal-based products on price, taste, and convenience. That those are the three factors. And I still think that there is a lot of truth to that. I do think that those are the three most important factors, but I think that companies have gotten smarter about realizing that it's not that simple, that different consumers value different things, that you want to have a unique differentiating point for the segment of consumers that you're targeting. And for some of them, it really is, like you were saying, quality ingredients, health, and that is a sizable enough portion of the population to base a business upon.
Mm. And I'm going to pop this question for the entrepreneurs here present. What has been, or in your experience or example, or seeing other startups, on the identification of problems that are still in need of solutions or very interesting solutions for the development of new products, for example, not only, as someone already mentioned before, not doing another burger, not doing another sausage, but actually inquiring and delving deep into the untapped problems that haven't been solved just yet because the solutions out there are not good enough on quality or good enough on texture or taste or other things that have been going on. So how is your experience in that process of identifying problems and how your product could solve these sort of problems identifications that you see out there for the industry on vegan startups? Again, this is an open question. No need to, if anyone just want to grab that one, please feel free.
I mean, if I understand the question correctly, is for us was the identification of a problem was the lack of good vegan cheeses on the market that would be like affordable and would offer something more than just being vegan. For us, it was very, very big and major like goal to create products that would offer something more than just whatever else there is on the shelf, and that it could be a little bit more affordable. And yeah, I think it's one of the biggest questions that one should ask oneself before starting a business. What are they going to offer that's not already out there, and how could you like go beyond just being vegan and just being another product on the shelf? So so we created something that's answering that need of having a good quality product. And also maybe it's going back a question a bit. It's interesting how creating a product that's actually good in taste, it has good ingredients list, and answers some of the needs of the consumer, and then trying to go big and sell it to the bigger retail stores and or whatever, just going big, means that you have to sacrifice some things that are really important for you as well. For example, packaging that's not so ecological, for example, but makes your product have a longer shelf life. And it's very difficult as an entrepreneur to maintain everything that you want to offer to people and still scale up and still be accessible in every supermarket. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's just my insight.
No, I think it's a great insight. And as you mentioned, sometimes just not getting, let's just say, satisfied for the fact that it's already something vegan, but looking to increase the added value and look for something else to provide for consumers. And I think that's a great thing that the industry is going through in this process of maturity, is not because it's vegan, it's already good, but offering better quality products instead of just, oh, it's vegan, deal with it, enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, for startups, sometimes there are, let's say, needs, or the market needs, is looking for alternative solutions. Quite often, when you come out with a new innovation or a new product, unless it is like an attempt to copy, or copy something that is already existing in the market, you are developing something new. And when you are developing something new, you basically have to convince and kind of like tell to people that this is a solution to the problem that there is out there, but it's different. It hasn't been there yet, and that can be sometimes also very difficult. I was working with a smaller company lately that had a fantastic product, organic, gluten-free, locally made, fermented. It ticks all the boxes, but it has a different taste. It has a very good taste, but it has a different taste and a different form than products that people are used to. And then you kind of like need to get that step up as well. You need to kind of convince people that, but instead of eating this, you could eat this. It doesn't look like what you had before, but it's really very good. So there are sometimes very solutions can be so different that they create a problem in its own, so to speak.
Yeah, it is true. Now I would like to open a question for everyone, which I think is a topic that everyone likes, which is funding. It's the lifeblood of any startup. It's the constant struggle, it's the constant fight. Every startup is always doing fundraising. If not, that's amazing or rare. In your opinions, which is the best alternative that startups in the vegan scene should be looking for? Is it angels? Is it VC? Is it incubators? Is it crowdfunding even? What options would you recommend for founders or people thinking about starting a startup in this scene?
I think that first off, it's very important to understand what you actually need. If we look back a little bit, we saw some pretty large fundraisers that unfortunately didn't necessarily, or at least haven't played out up until this point. So I think ensuring that you're not diluting yourself as a founder too much. And also understanding, again, how lean can you be? How far can you get your business without raising funds from the outside? But I think in Europe specifically, what's really exciting is there's a lot of grants available and a lot of government support. So there's ways to find non-dilutive funding for your business early on that can save you potential headaches down the road and help you retain ownership of your business. If you go for angels or crowdfunding or VCs, that really depends on your network and who you think is most interested in what you're building. But yeah, definitely don't overlook grants.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say it shows also that you have some skin in the game by trying to kind of like fund it as much as possible in the beginning by yourself. Grants and accelerator programs, I think, are a possible next step. Maybe even business angels, one or two, to kind of like get you to a certain level before you address, let's say, the bigger funding institutions on the market, like VC or PE or family offices, etc.
Anyone else would like to share some insights with regards to funding? I know it's a thorny subject.
Well, we sorry.
No, go ahead. I can answer.
You can begin, Monika. Go to Jay.
Okay. We raised our first funding last year, and it was from angels. And for us, angels were better than VCs because the process was easier and less painful. And we have some people also that work with us and really are trying to help us, even though they're not from the food industry but they're still trying to help us with their connections. So for us, and business angels worked better than VCs, but along the way maybe we'll probably look at VCs to get bigger, larger amounts when we will be raising. And about crowdfunding, I recently heard, I haven't done it or know very little about it, but recently someone told me that it's a really good idea as well for beginning startups to do crowdfunding if you do it well, if you go somewhere where you can get big how do you call it, like you access a lot of people with your information, and so that could be a good option as well. And yeah, that's my insight on that.
So what I would say on this subject is that I would really encourage people to think about what kind of business they want and what kind of lifestyle they want. And there are lots of different options with pros and cons. So for example, Tofurky is a very different kind of business than Beyond Meat or Impossible. So are you aiming to, and I don't make any kind of value judgment, but are you aiming to have a massive business with $200 million in revenue? Are you aiming to be acquired by a large multinational company? Or are you aiming to have a more, maybe more relaxed lifestyle with more, maybe less revenue, but because the thing that's important for people to realize is that once they start to accept VC funding, they're going to be put on a very high pressure track where there are going to be a lot of demands from investors to increase revenue rapidly, and it's going to become an all-consuming task. And so they're just adding different people with different stages in their lives, different family situations, different values. So I think it's important to find an investor that is compatible with what it is that you want to get out of having a business.
Thank you, Jay. And also, I think a great topic that you touched was on managing expectations and planning ahead on what sort of company you want to develop. I think a lot of founders, sometimes when they're starting, they don't have that question already answered, and sometimes they can lead them to making mistakes or just being a little bit lost in the beginning on what sort of venture and company they want to be building. So thank you so much for that. Also, I wanted to see or ask everyone here a little with regards of commercialization, which I know it's one of the key phases and stages for companies. It's their pathway towards revenue. What are, in your opinion, some mistakes that you have seen in the industry of companies maybe delaying revenue and focusing on growth instead of revenue, and vice versa, on that debate of how to commercialize and how fast to reach the market, or how big to reach the market is also a big question. I'll leave those two if anyone wants to grab whichever one.
Well, if somebody else goes first, I'll go first.
Please.
I think it depends also on the case. Also there, I think what I've seen is that many companies have dreams of becoming a retail brand. Sorry, my dog is a little bit pushing me here, but that's a very honorable goal, but it's not always so easy to get there. And what is often lacking then is that, how do you really get there? Because as I mentioned earlier, it is usually not so easy to kind of like just get into the value chain of the bigger distribution partners or retailers, and it may require quite a lot of effort and money to really get there. So going to market really depends on the case, and I think often it could be more interesting to look into a B2B path, for instance, where you look maybe first at restaurants or catering companies or schools, etc., to kind of like build a market and get going. But quite often I've seen that the dream is to become like a brand, but to become a brand, it's not that easy, of course. So way to markets is really kind of like understanding, where am I? What market do I want to what market do I want to get into? and how do I get best into that market? And I think we've seen even with bigger players within this industry like Oatly and others that game and that strategy is not always so clear, and where people have entered too many markets or have entered markets with expectations that eventually were never met, because of different not really well understanding the cultural or the logistical setup of different countries. So I think it's very important to really do the homework very carefully before you enter a market and build a strategy. That's really important, I think.
Thank you, Michel. Anyone would like to share some insights? I see some faces that seem to be fascinating about this question, and I'm like, ooh, there's got to be something there.
For us, I can only, again, talk about our experience because this is the knowledge that I have, was the connections that we had. It was much easier to access any kind of store chain if we knew someone, or even if we knew someone who could help us introduce our product to someone who's in charge. So, and we thought when we started selling our product that it's going to just go itself, that it's going to sell itself, right? So it's there on one shelf in a small store, and in no time it's going to be in all stores in Warsaw, and then in whole Poland, and then in every supermarket, because that's how it should be, and it wasn't. So it's still a struggle for us to appear on the shelves. And mistake we try to avoid is to, for example, to create too big of a production facility comparing to the needs and the sales that we have currently. So when we got our funds, we were really careful about spending it and not to spend too much too fast, because then the income wasn't, equal, and we couldn't break it even. And so that would be the first mistake that I would suggest to avoid, to go slow and to see how the market is reacting as long as you go. And if it's, for example, restaurants and cafes more than retail chains or whatever, retail stores, then go for that. For us, it's much more difficult to go into restaurants because we have more expensive products, and we also have to educate people that this new vegan cheese, it's not as all other cheeses are there. It's much better in taste. It has some nutrient values, and so along with the work that we have to be selling, we also have to educate. So yeah, we are going slow, and we are just testing the market and then trying not to, because if you go too fast, too big, and you try to appear in every shelf in every supermarket, then if you don't, it might cost you the company.
Exactly.
So that's from me.
Thank you so much, Monika. Małgorzata, would you like to share a little bit also on your experience to commercialization and how the road was?
Yeah, I was just trying to say it, but I saw that I'm muted again. And you can call me Margo.
Margo, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling with Polish
worries.
letters. I'm struggling. I'm so sorry.
No worries. I know that my name Małgorzata is not so easy to pronounce in different languages than Poland, so easy with that. And Margo came to me many years ago abroad, so it's much easier for the future. Our world was really rocky, as very similar to Monika said, that I think a lot of mistakes with new companies on the market is overproducing. For me, last year, we had a problem completely opposite, that we make our branding, we make the storytelling that we wanted to came to the people, because we started basically from one of the things that I think every vegan person heard: what about cheese? And it was one of the things that I always, laugh about. And I understand about the yellow cheese and even the product that Monika came to Poland, which I'm very happy about. We decided to go a little bit further and make a camembert and make all these mold cheeses accessible with the vegan version, which for me was really crazy to produce in Poland because most of the bacteria are making not really vegan way. And founding even the good quality ingredients to making my own cheese was really crazy. But I think we had a problem with not reaching the scale. We didn't expect, that our product will be some newest thing that people would like to have. So our first portion, because it's coming one time per month, nowadays it's gonna be twice per month, smaller amounts. We sell only online. We have only a few stores around Poland that we are cooperating with. And the problem was that some of the people that didn't achieve the sale in one moment, they get bored waiting for another portion, another line next month or in few weeks. So coming to these people each time and reminding him, hi, we are here, we know that you wanted to try our vegan camembert. It's still a little bit struggle to educating these people, coming to them, and even to these flexitarians that they are coming to us more often every month. I think spreading the good news about possibilities of vegan food, that it can be much better than the animal products. I think it's the biggest struggle for us. I think for all the small companies right now, it is not accessible each store, and educating the people, it's a challenge, but I think it's really great challenge for us because each step of our way and the company, for me, it's always a small reminder why I'm doing and why I started that company. And it's really great. I think every time that we are speaking with people, it's a huge plus for us and a great motivation for sure.
Thank you, Margot. I thank you both of you to share your experiences and of course the challenges that you have faced in commercialization, which it's always a big hurdle. I wanted to ask also to everyone on the panel, what is in your experience and your perspective the biggest challenge for the industry to thrive and grow? Is it educating the audience, or does it have to do maybe with scaling up manufacturing? At the current stage that the industry is in, which is the biggest challenge that you have seen startups deal with?
I'll answer with one so other people can talk about theirs, but I think something that might seem a little different than what most people think of, but I don't think we know as well as we'd like who our customers are. I know we talk about this like so-called flexitarian, but I think we are still having some trouble understanding like who is going to be the customer, who's beyond the vegan and the plant-forward customer, who I would say is, even more focused on eating plant-based multiple times a week. Because right now, repeat purchases are the real issue. Like, people have tried Beyond Meat, they've tried a lot of these products, but they're not necessarily repeat purchasing them. So I guess a lot of companies need to do some deep soul searching and understanding who's the customer that they're really trying to reach. So, with Impossible here in the US, they've really decided, hey, we're going to double down on we're meat, made from plants, and we're going after the customer who really wants that meaty experience versus, Beyond Meat, who's positioning themselves now more as like a healthy plant-based meat, alternative. And I think a lot of them are just really trying to figure out which market segment is going to drive their next wave of growth. And I think we can all do each other a favor by better understanding who that's going to be.
Thank you, Noah. Very insightful. I also think it's interesting, that perspective. Anyone else would like to share the challenge or the big challenge that you think the industry needs to overcome at the moment?
I agree. I agree with Noah. It's I think nobody really knows who the consumer eventually is. But at the same time, I think we see interesting trials in different countries, Germany and Lidl, and some other chains like Rewe, etc. Experimenting with different ways of selling the plant-based products, also with pricing, where they are putting the price at the same level as the meat products, and they seem to see an interesting increase in sales over the last year, whereas a number of countries are and retailers are struggling to sell more. So the question is really, who's the customer? That's definitely a very important question. The other one is like, what about pricing, and how do we make sure that these products are not more expensive, or that they are kind of like comparable to the existing meat products? And we all know that the meat products are being sponsored or subsidized by the government, whereas plant-based options are currently not really enjoying the same. So I think there are multiple questions that need to be digged into to really get to the bottom. But I think eventually, this market is definitely going to thrive. I mean, there's no alternative. It is the future. So I'm very convinced about that. But I think it's true that the industry is struggling to really find what's the best way to really tackle this market and convince consumers that this is a good, or these are good alternatives to meat.
Thank you, Michel. Anyone else would like to add any insight on this? It's not. Oh,
Yeah,
Margot.
I would like to add something. Yeah, I completely agree with both of you what you said, and I think we all struggle. I think all the market are struggling, not only vegan, but of course we're gonna speak about this one. Sorry for my fridge. I hope it's not gonna hear so much, but I'm really close to it. I think it's very important, even with the startups and whatever is going on around, to staying true with our mission, because as you said before, as all of we know, this is the future. And I think in one moment we all gonna find our clients, doesn't matter what they do in between, but I think it's very, very important that we educate people, we do and show our values in all our products. And I think this is the way that we can achieve our goals, and we can maybe not, I hope all these big chains and big companies are gonna go slower a little bit for the good quality products from us, that this is I think it's the only way to accomplish our goals, to stay with this mission, to stay with the high quality products, because in the end of the day, this is what really matters. And of course, the growth of the company and the money, of course, are very big part of it. But still, if we started with our mission, with some of the values, and with our hearts put it on these products, I think this is the only way to win with all the struggles around. Because without the idealistic view of that, there is only not so much left.
Thank you, Margot. I would like to open now up for questions from the audience. We have been receiving a couple throughout the panel, and I have a couple here that I would like to be asking. Some of them are for everyone, some others have specific names, but I would like to begin questions that the audience has about lab-grown meats or cultivated meat, I think. Any thoughts anyone would like to add about it, and about also the ethics of it? If anyone would like to jump into that topic.
Sure. Well, I would say on the ethical question, so I'm an ethical vegan. I have been for many years, and there's definitely an ethical problem with using fetal bovine serum. Of course, I don't want to be in a world where we're using any animal products, but I think fortunately this is a situation where economic interests and ethics are aligned, because it's going to be pretty much impossible for companies to get to market at scale while using fetal bovine serum. I think it's just too expensive for that to work. So I think that is a convenient fact that hopefully will assuage some people about the ethics, that products are not going to be out there at scale that are still using animal products. But I would say the biggest insight in recent years about cultivated meat has been that we don't need full cultivated meat products. We can blend them with plant-based products. I think that a lot of companies are pursuing that path, and I think that is quite promising. But I think there's still open questions that we need to answer. So, for example, what percentage is the optimal blend? How do you get the most bang for your buck? How much do you really need to influence the taste while maintaining costs? And how do you make it economical? I think those are the questions I think companies are trying to answer. But I am still, there are a lot of challenges for sure, but I am still hopeful about the long-term potential of that space.
Thank you, Jay. Anyone else want to throw their hat with cultivated, or no worries? Also, a question that we have is does anyone think which one is a better way, especially the ones that have already had experience in the market, which is the best way of labeling plant-based products or vegan products? Is it vegan? Is it plant-based, plant exclusive, planet friendly? Which has been your experience with labeling, and which ones have gotten better results?
Yeah, this is a question I ask the brands in our community a lot, and I get different answers. The number one advice that I've been giving our brands is, vegan is great, plant-based is great, but don't make that the main value proposition of your product, because at this time, unfortunately, both those words can have, there can be just an array of like political affiliations with it, and these words have just been debated, and some of them again have left a bad taste in consumers' mouths. So for me, what I think is the most important thing is to really focus on making like a tasty product that appeals to a customer. For example, here in the US, Oreos are vegan, but I think today, and they're not labeled as such, but I think today if Oreo went out and called it a vegan Oreo, I think their sales would drop. So I guess the most important thing is like make something that people want and make it happen to be vegan, and then you can sell vegan products without making that the sole focus, because I don't think, as we've discussed here, that the market of vegans is unfortunately big enough at this time to support the amount of companies we'd like to see in the space.
Thanks, Noah. Monika, you were also wanted to say something.
Yeah, I had a thought that Oreos are vegan, and that's true, but in Poland we have this law that you cannot call cheese something that isn't cheese, and you cannot call meat something that isn't meat. So for us, we have to label something as alternative to cheese, or we have to say it. You have to put it out there, not to confuse the customer that it's something that it's not. And for us, the big question at the beginning was to label our product as vegan or plant-based. There wasn't those other options that you mentioned asking the question. But we decided to, and we did some research on that as well, that word vegan has a bad connotation to many people, that they just going to refuse the product because it's labeled vegan, and they have this, I don't know if you can call it some anger issues towards vegans, that they're too rigoristic, too black and white, to make our product more accessible to flexitarians, or even, I don't know, someone who just looks at the product. We called it plant-based, and we are trying to communicate our product as plant-based to avoid using the word vegan as much as possible, because this means the same thing actually, but there is something about vegans that can be a little bit, I don't know, off-putting people who are eating meat or at flexitarian even. So for us, plant-based was the way to go.
Right. Anyone else has any?
I would like to add something to it. I think the vegan word has indeed got a lot of negative connotations. So there is a number of people who kind of like are allergic to it, I would say. At the same time, I think there are some, at least there are some discussions about what plant-based really means, and there are even some laws being discussed that plant-based could contain 5% up to 5% animal produce. I mean, it's still debates that are ongoing. So I think we work also with certifications and. Like the V label, I think you don't have to necessarily put that in the front of your product and then say that, to make it like very clear, oh, this is a vegan product. At the same time, you want to have like, as a consumer, you would like to have like a quality label that says like, yeah, this product is organic, or this product is indeed vegan. It is free from animal products. And I think these certifications like the V label, in that sense, are very important. They just don't have to stand on the front package. They can just be in the back, and where you will see that, okay, this product has been vegan approved. I think that's, for me, that's one of the ways to go forward, depending a little bit on what is your target. If you are really focusing vegans, then you should make it as clear as possible. But if you're going a little bit wider, it might be good to have that certification that, yes, this is something that is vegan. It's been certified. There is no animal products in it, but you don't have to kind of like bring it straight into the face of consumers who might be allergic to it.
Yeah, one of my favorite European brands, Juicy Marbles, does this really well. I was talking to the founder about it, and if you look at their packaging, it's on the back. It says like in a very small circle on the bottom that it's vegan. And yeah, I think that's a great way to do it.
Yes. Just going to grab another question from the audience. Someone's asking, what's your opinion on shrinkflation and how it manifests for lower priced vegan products? They say several vegan products found in different supermarkets contain less protein than they had a few years ago, or are sold in smaller packages because they're trying to keep themselves from being still affordable.
Well, I don't know about the protein content. I haven't really noticed that protein content has changed. It might be so. I actually have no answer on that. But I think given the inflationary pressures that we have seen in many markets, not only vegan products, but also other products have done this kind of shrinkflation to make a product more affordable. Whereas you might have been able to sell a product of 300 grams before, it might have shrunk to 200 because the price becomes more affordable, and therefore people are more likely to buy the product. I think that's not just for vegan products only. I've seen that on many other products happening, to kind of keep pricing lower.
Yes, no doubt. It is a complicated issue, shrinkflation, and also how to deal with inflationary forces, especially companies that are already on the market and are constantly struggling of keeping themselves profitable, considering the macroeconomics conditions that we're all affected by. I just wanted to read another question, and I hope some of the startups or also the ones in the panel working on funding and VC can help. Someone asks can anyone name different companies and organizations that fund small-scale vegan startups on a globally, different programs and similars like that. They're asking for good information and would like to share tips that you guys know from that support and fund startups in the vegan scene.
Well, I run a community of vegan startups around the world called VEGPRENEUR. So definitely get in touch We also have a database of all the funders in the space that's constantly growing. And then also, have you heard of ProVeg?
Yes. So for those that don't know, I'm working at ProVeg Incubator. We provide funding for small startups. We are open for startups all over the planet. And we have a yearly program where we do a 5-month program of incubation and acceleration for startups in the vegan scene. But I wanted to ask you guys to provide tips and names, not to throw me under and put me on the spotlight. Come on. But thank you, Noah, so much.
So maybe just to throw out there, in addition to VEGPRENEUR and ProVeg, which are both great options, people may want to take a look at the Glasswall Syndicate and Vevolution. Those are 2 platforms that you can take a look at to help to find investors.
Yeah, and you can add Beyond Animal in that portfolio as well. Although I would say that, because I saw the question, they were looking for. I think the question also had like valuation of the business, which was relatively low. So if you're talking about 100 or 200, 300,000 euros, I think the best option is always local players, local business angels. I think there is very few international organizations who sponsor very small businesses on a global level. I might be wrong, but I don't know so many, at least.
Yeah. Now grabbing another question from the audience. Does anyone think that we should focus on microcosms instead of the macro, taking over small markets over and over instead of trying to conquer all over the world? I think that was mentioned, previously by Noah. I think it was of this strategy of startups. But has anyone have any thoughts on this, on targeting small markets and growing upwards instead of trying to eat the planet all at once? Pun intended, of course.
Well, if you're looking to build a sustainable business, I think that's the way to go, right? You want to conquer smaller markets and build up. I also think that, it's a bigger conversation about the centralization of our food system, which I think has, really exposed its vulnerabilities during the COVID epidemic. And so I'm also excited about seeing more regional players, where we're not creating these homogenous food experiences where no matter where you are, you're going to get the same 5 products. I think people need a reason to travel and taste new foods that they may not get, near where they are in their hometown. Obviously, and then there's the counter argument of, trying to make it as easy as possible and as accessible for people to eat vegan products. So there's both sides to that. But I definitely believe that we need more players and more regional players. And if you are growing, even if you want to take over the world, you got to start somewhere. So sometimes you want to do things that don't scale at the beginning.
Thanks, Noah. Margot, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys because, having feedback from local people is very important. I have our producing place in a really small city in Poland. So we have to look for our local clients too. Of course, most of them are really surprised hearing that we are having a vegan camembert or other fermented cheeses, but still we are doing a little bit of different kind of products, which are still from local farmers. We have great connection with our community, and even if they're looking at me as a crazy woman, all around here. Sorry for my colloquium, but this is how it's looking around in my hometown. It is very important because I'm achieving a great feedback from them. I know what they need. I can put a little bit of this vegan idea to the people who never even thought about before that the carrot can be vegan. But still, achieve and giving them really good products. It's great because these people need good food too, and good vegan food too, and without the chemistry, without all GMO or everything else. And I think it's even from this business perspective, it's really great for putting our product not only to our vegan bubble. It is, of course, important for me for achieving some goals with vegan market, but still not losing my site and not losing my idea and identity, having a great feedback from people locally, I think is a really great success. Even having, sorry for adding this, but even having a vegan word in my company's name. It sounds crazy. We don't put this word or vegan label or our products, but still it was very important for me for having it in my company's name. It makes me proud. It makes our product proud. It's a lot of values in one word that I want to spread around, even locally, of course, globally too, but still starting with Poland and our local market. It was really important for saying it.
Thank you so much, Margot. Always a pleasure to hear these insights. I wanted to ask also, I think both Monika and Margot mentioned their challenges of educating your consumers so that they can be better prepared of engaging with vegan products. I wanted to ask, what about the possibilities or the options of governments that have been working towards these, or campaigns towards education? Has anyone been witness of campaigns on different governments or of places that have been towards pushing or fostering the vegan industry, maybe in your local countries, or seen an example of it somewhere?
Unfortunately, I have to say that the Polish government is not a fan of healthy food. There's a great, right now, Roślinna Szkoła, which is the planned school program that our organization of this European Vegan Summit coming to, with this great idea to showing people and coming to schools with more plant-based food for kids and starting this education. But it is really a struggle in Poland, I have to admit, with healthy food. Unfortunately, it's changing a little bit with customer awareness and people growing up with their sicknesses, because I think from what I can see from my clients and all the people that I met in many different situations with our product, that they are starting looking at the healthy products, the vegan products, having their kids sick, being their own, having some struggles with lactose, with gluten, with all of things around, with all the sicknesses that I don't even have a name to it. So it's really important to start education, as we said just right now, about the local community, about the people that we met on our road, because there is no help from high government. There is no help from my city. There is no help from coming for spreading good word. I think this is our mission with our product, to spread the good word and explaining people how important their health and their kids' health is. And with this point, I win a lot of clients. I win a lot of kids that our products are good, are healthy. And I think for the future, it's one of the most important words gonna be health.
Thank you, Margot. Just wanted to finish with a last question. We're already on our last couple of minutes. We got a question asking a little bit on, it's on the context of India, but I think we can all understand a little bit the concept of mock meat market, as it's called here. There, it's being slowed down. The hypothesis mainly because it isn't championed by activists and they are pricey, so it ends up veganism sounding elite, and animal eaters don't want to try and stick to other alternatives and other products. So how can we make vegan products seem more accessible for the market consumption? I'm just going to leave this as the last question, so also reminding you guys on timing.
The great thing about, being vegan or eating vegan is that you don't have to buy mock meats or any of these products. I think some of the cheapest items in the grocery store are vegan, from, beans, tofu, rice, if you have access to those. So the funny thing is it's actually much more affordable to eat vegan. Now, with the products, as we've talked about, they're not at scale in the same way that animal products are, so they don't have those economies of scale working in their favor. And as Michel pointed out, they don't have the sort of government support that animal products deserve, or get. Sorry, they do not deserve. Sorry, that they get. Still early here. And as a result, they're more expensive. So, yeah, these mock meats, unfortunately, are still on average a little bit more expensive than animal products.
Thank you, Noah.
I think also that vegan products are very often associated with organic products. And this is the organic products that are more elite or expensive because how they are made. And that's why maybe people are kind of putting them in one, place in their head, which it shouldn't happen. Yeah, because I agree with what Noah just said.
Any other final remarks before we
finish? I think it's correct with the pricing. I think there is a little bit of a misconception also on the pricing, because most vegan products are actually not that expensive. I mean, there's more expensive meats than vegan products. I think the problem is more in, I guess, with very cheap and sponsored or subsidized chicken and pork that can be extremely low in price. I mean, I see prices of like €5 a kilo sometimes in stores, and yeah, I mean that's something that you can't compete with, or because it's also an artificial price, the €5. It's really not a price that takes into account the real cost, and definitely not the externalities that product brings. So if we would start to calculate the price of that, the price of meat would be way more expensive. But it's true. I would definitely say that vegan products still are slightly higher priced and have this kind of perception that they are more expensive.
Thank you so much, Michel. And also thank you so much, everyone, for participating in this panel. We're already on time, so I think we're going to cut it for now before the organizers come and devour my head. So, yeah. Thank you so much also for everyone that has been watching and participating. Thank you for your questions. So thank you, Jay. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Michel. Thank you, Monika. Thank you, Margot. Thanks, everyone, for participating, for bringing your insights, your experiences, and your visions on how to create vegan startups, how to develop sustainable businesses, and also how to tackle the challenge starting a business in such an industry, which, of course, has a little bit more, let's just say, some extra difficulties than other industries have associated with, but also the great joy and also the great mission that drives most of us, if not all of us, to be working towards ventures in this space. So thank you once again, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.